I didn't even see him. It seems like a far drive for those guys.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
I mean, I guess Joe Lissette probably drove farther, but I didn't even know the Hetick was here. So
yeah.
On your left, Michael Hetick, Ship It Holla.
Moto Ringer.
Moto Ringer, yes. Has at least one Grand Prix top 8. Finals of a Star City Invitational.
He does statistical analysis.
Road Pod.
He has statistical analysis articles for Star City games as well. He's often going back and breaking down, portion of these decks and metagames and results and that kind of stuff. So
okay. Looks like Michael is playing, as it says on the screen, Nipod. Any blue in his deck? Anything hiding out there?
He has a Deceiver. He has a Deceiver Exarch.
Okay.
But yeah, basically just just Niapod basically. I mean, it's basically just a green-white deck that has a Zealous Conscripts and a Deceiver Exarch and then some sideboard cards.
Okay. And on our right here for Jeffrey Egger, we're going to see a blue-white mid-range. You're not going to find any Delver Secrets in this deck. It's very reminiscent of a deck that Sam Black championed a long time ago. It's kind of fallen off a little bit recently, but it's your blue-white mid-range deck. It's got Splicers. It has 2 Talleyrand Sky Summoners, 2 Geist of St. Travs. You've got your Mana Leaks, your Ponders, your Vapor Snags, your Probes. You're going to find a Singleton Faith Shield here, which is a little bit interesting. And then you're going to find a small Planeswalker suite in 2 Gideon Jira, and 1 Tameo the Moon Stage. So
yeah, Delver without Delver.
Very mid-rangey, no Wraths to be found here either.
Yep.
As we see a Blade Splicer Resolve for Jeffrey, we see an Elvish Visionary on Michael's side. Michael's going to draw a Forest, swing some cards around here. We see the Promo Restoration Angel, another Visionary is going to be cast to get him 1 card deeper, which is another Forest. And we're going to see a Mana Dork, Avacyn's Pilgrim.
Yep.
And back to Jeffrey we go. Now, Michael's deck, it's not some of the Niapod decks. Brian Kibler, for example, is someone who champions like 2 to 3 birthing pods, not the full amount. Michael does have 4 in his deck list. Is that correct?
He has 4 pods. Yes.
Okay, so he is much more pod centric.
Yeah, I mean
his
deck is just lands, creatures, and 4 birthing pods.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, this is no fuss, no muss.
Gotcha. As we see Talleyrand Sky Summoner come from Jeffrey. Now, as most people know at home, and I'm sure that you're aware, letting them untap with Talleyrand, not good.
Yep. You
not
gotta.
good.
Although with enough Restoration Angels plus Birthing Pod, he can sort of hold down the fort, and then Birthing Pod can actually provide inevitability even if Talleyrand gets a board going. So it's not the spot you want to be, but if there's any deck that can kind of handle a Talleyrand without actually killing it, again, it's a Birthing Pod deck.
Okay. It's kind of a battle of, especially because Jeffrey's deck is more mid-range than Delvery aggressive tempo deck. It's kind of a battle of who can get their engine online better.
Yeah.
Talleyrand is basically Jeffrey's engine versus Hetrick's engine of Birthing Pod. So we see an attack here by Jeffrey with a Blade Splicer.
I think this is going to be a Snapcaster for the gut shot.
Yeah. See a Snapcaster on a Gut Shot. First strike damage is going to resolve. Gut Shot's going to finish it, and we are going to see...
I assume Talleyrand's going to be...
shooting out a Windrake.
Appears to be reaching into a deck box here for a token. I think
he's just waiting for the spotter.
Oh, okay.
Spotters are useful, because I don't ever bring tokens to a tournament, so I just don't come prepared. And the spotters always have to save me.
I dug through the M13 box that I got a couple weeks ago and found my zombie tokens for my Cemetery Reaper. So I'm ready to go for Atlanta and LA.
As we see Restoration Angel here blinking, another Elvish Visionary. I mean, what that pretty much says to me is, Michael just doesn't have a ton of action. I think that much is pretty obvious as he draws an island. Off of that Elvish Visionary, we see a Bird of Paradise. We also see another Restoration Angel hiding out in Hetrick's hand. And we're going to see a Vapor Snag bouncing back.
Very aggressive. He's got to end the game pretty fast, right?
Yeah, I think, that's going to, it's going to deal Hetrick a point of damage. It's going to give him a second Drake. He can start getting the air beats going. Provided he has another Snapcaster for the Restoration Angel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, he does have 8 mana now, so if it is a Snapcaster for if it's a Snapcaster for Vapor Snag, he can bounce it and then Hetrick can replay it. So I understand
I would be a much bigger fan of this play if Hetrick didn't have like he has so many chump blockers. It's hard for you to just like push lethal or threaten anything close to lethal from this spot because he's got so many like mana dorks and visionaries that he can chump with. Although maybe the Vapor Snag's just not getting any better. I mean, that could definitely be a thing, but
it'll be hard to say. It'll be interesting. I think that's something we should definitely keep kind of towards the front of our mind. You know, us kind of think of the game as if what if Jeffrey did have a Vapor Snag in his hand.
yeah. I was also incorrect about the only blue card in his list is Deceiver Exarch. He also has 3 copies of Phantasmal Image.
Okay, sure. Any red hiding out in there? You know, are we going to
conscripts?
Just a conscripts, no Haunt Master of the Fells, none of that Inferno type, none of that cool
nope,
stuff.
Just the conscripts.
Okay. How far can he move up the chain?
He caps out at Singleton Sun Titan. He has 4 copies of Thrag Tusk, a conscript, and a Sun Titan.
As you see, Thalia, Guardian of Thraben.
That is a singleton pod target.
Okay. Hetrick's going to cast that Restoration Angel on Jeffrey's upkeep.
Yep.
He does have the mana to slide through a mana lake with 2 pilgrims and a bird.
Also, the reason he wants to cast during the upkeep was, like, let's say he even had 2 mana leaks. That way, at least the tolerant tokens would be something sick.
Sure, sure. We see a blue being tapped for something.
Gitaxian Probe, that'll generate another tolerant token.
Now, even though there are 3 in play, one of those tokens is sick, just so that you guys do know at home.
So we got a Splicer, another Restoration Angel, and a Deceiver Exarch.
Correct. I mean, we're getting to the point now, and as you know, Jeffrey doesn't have. I believe that Jeffrey is cardless outside of this draw that he's going to get from Gitaxian Probe. We're getting to the point now where, you know, Jeffrey is, as he draws a plains, he's in a pretty bad situation. Even though he's gummed up the board pretty well, but for Hetick, he's exactly where he wants to be. I would say, you know, he's not under a lot of pressure, and if at any point he draws Birthing Pod, this game is basically over.
Yeah, basically Edgar needs to find one of it. I think the only thing in his deck that's really powerful enough to drag him through at this point is one of his Planeswalkers. I think he needs to find one of them.
Yes.
That could give him some game, but even just like generating random Tolerant tokens against a board full of 3/4 flyers is not getting him very far.
Yes.
And the threat of Birthing Pod is also looming the whole time. If, like you said, if Hetick ever finds it, game just ends.
Yeah. The problem, of course, for Jeffrey right now is he has no action.
Hetick also has 2 copies of Gavany Township in his deck, which would also be completely bananas here.
Yeah. I mean, he has a lot of live draws right now.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, Jeffrey's live draws, I mean, 2 Gideons are quite good. Tameo is okay.
Yeah.
Ponder, always good, of course. So, you know, that would help him find some action. But I think that Hetrick's live draws are much higher than Jeffrey's. And also, you know, Hetick has some cantripping going on. He has another Restoration Angel that can blink the Elvish Visionary in play. So.
All right, so we're going to use a Deceiver Exarch before combat to tap one of the Tolerant tokens.
Correct.
And now I think attacking becomes pretty unattractive.
Hopefully, as Hetick is going to clear up this game state for you guys, because two of them can attack, one of them can't. And you don't want to have that confusion to think that 3 can attack, so hopefully they can just get 3 Drake counters in play. There we go. So there's no confusion on what the game state is. And it doesn't look like he's going to attack.
I think attacking now is not a good proposition.
And we know at home that Jeffrey just has 1 Plains in his hand, so he's just going to pass back. You know, can do some stuff. You know, bluffing of Mana Leak, bluffing of Restoration Angel, bluffing of Vapor Snag or Snapcaster Mage. So even though that 1 card in his hand is a Plains, it's not a Plains to Hetick.
Yeah.
As we see a Thrag Tusk for the draw step. That's going to move Michael up to 17, and we do know that he has Restoration Angel as well. I mean,
yeah, we're quickly reaching the point where not even one of the Planeswalkers is going to make an appreciable difference in this game.
Yeah,
he needs some sort of like crazy running cantrip sequence to really get anything of note going here.
And he draws. It looked like a white card.
It's either a Restoration Angel or a Blade Splicer. I couldn't could not tell.
Yeah, I couldn't make it out very well as well, but I agree with you. I mean, I believe that we did see a white card. I mean, the white cards in his deck are Restoration Angel, Blade Splicer, and Gideon. So he could be thinking of potentially casting Gideon. You know, what happens if I +2 it? What happens if I tried to... And there's nothing I can use the -2 ability to kill, so... I'm trying to think of a way that Jeffrey's going to be able to get himself out of this situation. It was a Restoration Angel.
Yeah, I mean, the game's just... Hetick has way too much action, and his draws are much more live. Like, a much wider range of his deck is live. And his powerful draws are also blow the game open, whereas Edgar's are just sort of treading water.
Yeah. As we see Phyrexian Metamorph drawn for Hetick. You know, interesting, as Hetick is going to kind of think through his turn here, what you typically find in these blue-white mid-range decks is, and this is, you find Dave Judgment.
Yeah.
To kind of get yourself out of this situation. You know, when things get gummed up, he doesn't really have a way to get through, as he's going to Ledger Rule Talrand out of play. You know, he doesn't have a way to you know, reset things and get through now. Like, a Gideon is okay at it, but, I mean, realistically, you don't want to be attacked by all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, there was a couple turns ago where Gideon would have been quite good, but that moment has passed.
Yes.
And Hetick is so far ahead at this point that he can actually afford to be, like, right now he's being super conservative with playing stuff into Mana League because there's just no point. Like, he's far enough ahead that he doesn't have to let Edgar trade 1-for-1. Like, he just didn't cast his Blade Splicer. It's also possible that he's concerned about the possibility of Day of Judgment in Edgar's deck too, which is causing him to be a little more conservative.
Yes. I think that that's like a very real thing, as we see another Thragtusk drawn for Hetick, is typically these decks do have Day of Judgment, as we said. So if you're Hetick, you know, Jeffrey's not really doing anything. You know, when you play against these decks, you haven't seen a Delver yet. You've seen Blade Splicer, you've seen Restoration, you've seen Talrand. It's kind of a tip-off that he's more mid-rangey than he is, you know, an aggressive Delver deck. So if you're Hetick, what you know is that, you know, these blue-white mid-range decks typically have Day of Judgment and some number of Planeswalkers, maybe Sun Titan in them, something of that nature. So I don't really want to extend and, you know, get myself destroyed by a Wrath when we know that the Wrath isn't there, but he doesn't know that.
Yeah, and that's why he's happy to add some Thragtusk to the board, because if there's a Day of Judgment lurking, that's fine to have your Thragtusk killed that way.
Yes.
Also, where he's at right now, it's like, well, what rush are you in? You know what I mean? It's like,
I mean, if
be pretty happy to play this game.
Yeah, I mean, if we've deduced the board state correctly and what we believe is going to happen, and, you know, we have the deck list in front of us, Hetick is basically just every draw step is just like, all right, where's Birthing Pod? Yeah. Where's Birthing Pod? Where's Gavany Township? If I ever draw one of those cards, like, this game is just essentially over, as we see Elvish Visionary drawn.
Yeah, like Gavany Township, like, basically the only thing that's like preventing the floodgates from opening wide open is a first striking Golem holding back the Thragtusk.
Yes.
If he finds Gavany Township, then he can just start alphaing with his Thragtusks.
Yes. You see Vapor Snag drawn for Jeffery.
Not actually good against a single card Hetick has.
Yeah, yeah. Actually poor against every card. And not to mention that Hetick does have a Restoration Angel in his hand if he just wants to blink the Vapor Snag. So I'm even trying to look at options of what could, if Jeffrey wanted to Vapor Snag his own thing, you know, he could Vapor Snag his own Blade Splicer to make another one, which is like okay, but not like great. He could Vapor Snag a Snapcaster Mage, which again is okay, but nothing to write home about.
Yeah, it is not particularly good right now, to put it mildly. So yeah, Edgar is in a world of hurt here. I mean, the game is still going on, but he is
Restoration Angel gonna blink a Thragtusk.
So we're gonna get a Thragtusk is not a death trigger; it is a leaves play trigger. So we get a beast and an extra 5.
Yes, that interaction is the reason I'm qualified for a Pro Tour. It's rather good.
Yeah,
rather good.
It's not bad.
Now, do you like him blinking that versus Elvish Visionary? You know, at this point, we're talking so much about him needing to find a Birthing Pod, him needing to find a Gavany Township to just put this game away. You know, does adding a beast, as he did draw Birthing Pod this turn, but you know, does adding a beast and 5 life really do anything?
Yeah, I'm a little curious about this play. The only thing that can make sense to me if he was like, yeah, I'm just happy to start bashing with my 2 Restoration Angels this turn because I'm so far ahead on life. But I don't know, like if I was in Hetick's position, I would be pretty happy to just like keep this game in a holding pattern, like sit on my Restoration Angel and whatever. I'm not in any rush to do anything. But clearly this is clearly now with Birthing Pod being drawn, it's all sort of elementary.
You see him tapping mana. He's gonna have to pay at least 1 more for that Birthing Pod.
Yeah.
There we go.
So we're paying 4 for the full cost plus 1 because the Thalia's in play.
Yes. And he can't at this point, if Jeffrey had double mana leak, it would actually counter it. It would actually counter it, but we know that he doesn't have one.
Yes.
So we see Birthing Pot happening. He's going to sacrifice Mana Dork, go get...
Looks like we're getting a Phantasmal image.
Yep. What I presume Hetick is going to do here is he's just going to load up on... He's going to load up on Restoration Angels, blink some stuff, just load up on flyers and start attacking that way.
I mean, do you think that he images his Deceiver Exarch and keeps going? Is there a line there?
I don't think so.
Just go ahead and make another Thragtusk. I guess that's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, just blink. Yeah, just blink, make another Thragtusk. That's perfectly fine.
Well, like I said, from here it's sort of a choose your own adventure where every different adventure gets you to the finish line.
Yeah,
like
that's one of the things that I found that I found playing Bant Pod or Pod variants is you get to the point where you just get to let's activate Pod. Let's see what happens.
I would have cloned the Deceiver Exarch for maximum fanciness.
Yeah, untap the Pod.
Yeah, just
whee. Yeah.
But this seems fine too. I mean, whatever.
It just gets to the point where you get these game states where everything is like gummed up like this, where it's just like, sacrifice something, do something else. It's gonna be sweet. You can't come back from how far ahead I am.
Birthing Pod, sacrificing a random creature, like you roll a die or opponent gets to choose, finding a random legal target in your deck, probably still eventually gets you the victory.
Yes. That is the power of that card. As we're going to see, a Hetick attack with both of his Restoration Angels. We're going to see some blockers here.
Yeah, there's a Restoration Angel. He blinked out his Blade Splicer.
Yes, so he got another Golem token. As we see some trading, some tokens are going to leave play. Restoration Angel is going to stay in play. And we know that Jeffrey does have a Vapor Snag in his hand to take care of the Phantasmal imaged copy of Restoration Angel. So he's doing okay, not great. He's kind of has these. He has Thragtusk in check, the best that you can have Thragtusk in check for Delver deck, I would say.
I mean, there's a bigger issue here of just, so he's got a, he paid. There it is.
He paid the extra for the.
Yeah, I was about to say you cannot underpay and then Moreland Haunt. That would not be cool. And that attack from Hetick is one of the, like, once you have Pod online, it's like, even though that attack looked bad, like he just cleared out a couple tokens for his Restoration Angels, you're happy to kind of trade like card for half a card and get the board sort of trimmed down a little bit.
For sure.
Because you have so much inevitability.
For sure. You just want to get stuff out of the way at this point. Just get these tokens out of the way. It looks bad because he loses to his Restoration Angels, but let's just get this crap out of the way so we can start attacking for real.
And I think next turn we're probably going to see Pod sacking Thragtusk, finding Sudden Titan,
getting back damage,
and then just going completely bananas. Or not. I mean, who knows? Doesn't really matter too much.
Yeah, I mean, like
go find something else.
It's choose your own adventure. It's fun trying to predict what people are going to do with Birthing Pod because you never know.
I would probably go get a Sun Titan right now, but if you didn't, that's probably fine too. Let's see.
I mean, so we see an attack from Jeffrey with 2 Drakes and a Restoration Angel, 3, 4, 5, 7 points of damage over to Hetick. Hetick decides, I'm in 32 life, I'm not going to block.
Right, there's no reason to chump just yet.
Go down to 25. You've got a long way to go to get me dead.
And it looks like Edgar drew a Snapcaster Mage for his turn. And I think, does he still have a Vapor Snag down there, or is that just like a Taxium Probe?
I believe that blue card is Snapcaster Mage.
Oh, he does it. His graveyard's on E right now?
On his graveyard, I am not 100% sure. I mean, at least 1 Vapor Snag, because he just cast 1. Sure, I'm sure of that. So we see Blade Splicer here from Mr. Hetick.
We'll see if this resolves first. before using mana on anything else. All right, here we go.
Thicket. We're going to sacrifice our Deceiver Exarch. Likely going to get a Restoration Angel here. I think this is the last Restoration Angel in his deck. I think he's cast 3 already.
So we're just going to go get we're going to blink another Thragtusk here. Yeah, sure, that seems fine.
Yeah.
Like I said, just do whatever you want, doesn't matter.
I mean, we're really getting to the point again, and we spoke about this earlier in the match, where Pod is just going to take over. You're not going to be able to catch up from it, and if he ever draws Township, the game just flat ends.
So he blinked out a Golem.
Blinked out a Blade Splicer Golem.
No, sorry, he blinked out a Blade Splicer
to get another Golem. Sure.
Why would you do that over blinking a Thragtusk?
I think the main reason is because the Golems have first strike. So
Okay,
he can
sure.
conceivably get into Jeffery with his first striking Golems. It's a little bit risky just because, like, if he just does anything to the Blade Splicer, then he's just throwing away his 2 Golems. I think I would rather blink the Thragtusk.
Okay.
But I'm sure there's a method to his madness.
Yeah. And Edgar had no attack, so this play looks pretty good now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess he's just trying to gum down the board as much as possible before finally. All right, so we're birthing potting away our Thragtusk and gonna get a beast here. This, I presume, will find us a Sun Titan.
There he is.
Sun Titan gets back Phantasmal Image. Then Phantasmal Image can copy Sun Titan, which allows him to get back the Deceiver Exarch, which then allows him to untap the Birthing Pod, and around and around we go.
Is there anything more fun than this?
I would rather probably just kill my opponent, but this is pretty sweet too.
Wait, to each their own.
Yeah, exactly.
Each their own.
I don't mind. I mean, I like the style points or whatever.
You want to untap Birthing
sure.
Pod?
Do it again?
Is Hetick trying to get him to submit?
Yeah.
Are we going for a TKO type victory?
The sleeper hold is applied in the middle of the ring. There's just no hope. You can tap or you can wait for unconsciousness to come, but there's no hope of getting out of this.
And we see another Phantasmal Image come into play here. The Sun Titans will get him through this this annoyance that is Jeffrey's board. He's gonna copy Blade Splicer. Get another first strike Golem. I would not be surprised to see he might hold this turn and then just shove next turn.
Okay, yes, sure.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive board.
Impressive is putting it mildly.
Yeah, it's not bad. 17 different Sun Titans. Bunch of Thragtusks.
And we see that was a Think Twice. Oh no, that was actually a Gataxian Probe, excuse me. Hardcast Gataxian Probe from Jeffrey. Jeffrey, I believe, has a Blade Splicer in his hand. I also think there's a Gut Shot hiding out over there. Don't have a great view of it. As he taps his 3 mana, this does look like a Blade Splicer. So we're gonna see a Golem token coming.
Okay, this is kind of the definition of swimming upstream right here.
Yeah, I mean,
Trying to like outvalue the Birthing Pod deck once the Birthing Pod is online.
Yeah, I agree. And so this is something that I always bring up a lot when we're doing coverage. Maybe a little bit too much, but 26 minutes.
Yes.
I think that Jeffrey is. I think he's pretty aware that he's not going to win.
Yeah.
And I don't think that any of these games are going to go by fairly quickly. Is there some rationale to, all right, I'm beat, let's try to get the next 2
Well, I don't know.
time?
I mean, I think there's a lot of players out there who have a mentality of like, well, my opponent can still screw up, and I'm going to make him kill me. You know what I mean? And I never understood that mentality so much myself, but I understand that it's a thing. And so I don't even think it's necessarily about being conscious of clock management versus not. I think a lot of people just have a mentality of like, this is a competitive event, and my opponent has to get me from 20 to 0 before I'm going to concede. I'm not going to do the work for him.
And I mean, to be fair, I don't disagree with you at all. I think another way you can look at it is you know, if you're Jeffery and you want to concede, it's like I don't want to show him more cards. But if you don't want to concede, I can maybe get another card from him, which he just did because now he knows that Hetick has Zealous Conscripts in his deck.
Yeah.
So
you got a
just
little
did get some
information. Not that it would be too hard to predict that there's a Zealous Conscript floating around somewhere in a 60, but yeah, it's information.
I mean, conceivably, there's nothing that really gave away that he had a Zealous Conscripts in his deck. He looks more of like a Bant Pot deck. The only thing that gave it away is the fact that Hetick just played a Copperline Gorge last turn, and then just got it now.
Sure.
So there wasn't anything that was a dead giveaway. So while Zealous Conscripts is not ideal in a blue-white mid-range matchup, having that information is like pretty important actually for Jeffery, because now like he knows that casting a Gideon isn't just like, oh, that's game.
Yeah.
You know, like it can be taken.
So just so you know, what you're seeing right now is the Sun Titan triggers resolving.
Yes.
The Phantasmal Image came back. It copied Zealous Conscripts and stole a Golem to get a blocker out of the way. And another Sun Titan got back an Ellis Visionary, which he just cantrip with. So.
Yes. And so everything looks to be attacking except for the Bird of Paradise, as we're going to see a concession here
That'll do
from
it.
Jeffery.
So
Michael Hetick ahead 1-0. Game, it took a while, but the writing kind of felt like it was on the wall after around turn 7 or turn 8.
Yep.
But looking at Jeffrey's sideboard and his options, we're going to find the card that we talked about, 2 Day of Judgments.
Yes.
Those are going to be likely boarded in. 2 Consecrated Sphinx, pretty good against pod decks.
Mm-hmm.
I can see those coming in. Potential to bring in negates to be able to counteract pod. I don't really like that way of fighting pod from these type of decks, being reactive instead of proactive against it. But it is there. You know, there is a chance that those get boarded in. He has Divine Offering, again to be reactive to it, or evoke Existence to be reactive to it. 2 Sword of Feast and Famine if he wants to try to go that route, and a Mental Misstep if he wants to counter Birds and Evans and Pilgrim.
Negate is a pretty rough card to bring in against the 4 non-creature, non-land deck or whatever.
4 spell all creature deck. Yeah, pretty difficult.
Yeah, and on the other side of the fence we have 2 copies of Hero Blade Hold, which is it's a potentially reasonable attacker against, like the board got clogged up with a bunch of like defensive 3/3s and 3/4s. Hero can be good at busting up those kind of boards. And then he has a Fiend Hunter, which I also like against a deck with a lot of creatures but is relatively removal light. So I got a couple options, but I believe that he's going to primarily just stick to his same 60.
I also see, just looking at the sheet, that he does have an Elishnorn in his sideboard, and with how gummed up that game got, potentially could bring it in. You know, again, Hetick doesn't really. I feel like Hetick has a pretty good idea of what Jeffrey's playing, but you know, he could realistically be thinking, oh, he just didn't draw like Delver that game, or he didn't draw Geist that game. So
yeah, it's hard to know with any degree of certainty what actually is going on here right now. You know what I mean? Like that could have just been a Delver deck that kind of flooded out.
So I mean, it's everything that Jeffrey played in that game was like, hey, I'm a Delver deck.
Yeah.
Every spell that he played. There was not a spell that he cast that was like, oh, dude, I'm mid-range, I'm not Delver. Like, and you know, Hetick can just thinking, man, he just like drew bad or whatever.
Right. I mean, the fact that he had, the only tip-off, in my opinion, is the fact that he had both Restoration Angel and Talrin. A lot of decks play 4 of one and 0 of the other.
Sure.
Having, you know, representing having like 5+ 4-drops is a little off the beaten path. So that could be an indicator that something's up, but, you know, you can't be 100% sure that that wasn't just a Delver deck that got a little bit flooded out. Yeah,
like if Jeffrey drew and cast one of his, like a Gideon or Tameo, then maybe the light bulb goes off in Hetick's head of, okay, like he's not traditional Delver, he's more mid-rangey, you know, something maybe clicks in his head that says that he's not a traditional Delver deck. At this point, I don't think there was any card that he really cast outside of your analogy with Restoration Angel and Talren being both in his deck.
Yeah.
That maybe he has more mid-rangey. So it'll be interesting to see like which route he goes, because I mean, the way that game played out is kind of how we feel like the next games are going to play out. And if that's the case, Elishnorn is the ultimate trump.
Yes.
But we'll see if he can really deduce what the opponent has done and if he wants to go the Elesh Norn route or not. Because traditionally, Elesh Norn is not where you want to be against Delver.
Yeah.
So,
particularly if you suspect they're going to be boarding in, if they're going to be boarding in Phantasmal Images anyway to fight some of your, or to just copy some of your good value stuff. Obviously, Elesh Norn has a lot of upfront value, so even if it gets Legend World, it's not necessarily bad.
Yeah.
But you may want to be hedging off on some of your legends anyway because Phantasmal Image is a thing.
Definitely true. Definitely true. As we see Jeffrey shuffling, Michael already ready. I think that they both kind of have an idea. Jeffrey shuffling relatively quickly. I think they both kind of have an idea. Time is a little bit of the essence.
Yeah, certainly from Edgar's perspective.
Yeah. I think they can kind of tell, all right, we need to get kind of moving here a little bit. Don't draw at this point in a 9-round tournament. Not so good.
Yeah.
Not so good.
So Hetick was sort of the first, I mean, do you consider them to be sort of the first, like, very visible moto grinder? Or is, like, with his level of success and consistency and the amount of metagame influencing decks that got kind of ported over into the physical magical world?
I mean, it's kind of hard to say, right? Like there have been other visible moto grinders. I think he's the most visible moto grinder of his age.
Sure.
Like, for example, Brad Nelson.
Yeah.
He was known because of Magic Online. Luis Scott Vargas kind of known because of Magic Online. Same to say with Paul Cheon. I think that Hetick and Reed Duke are like the two big all right, these are the Magic Online guys that people know of.
Yeah. So we're seeing a turn 1 Gitaxian Probe revealing a hand of 2 mana accelerants, 2 Avacyn's Pilgrims, 3 lands, a Forest of Plains and a Cavern, Metamorph, and a Sun Titan.
Not the worst hand. It's actually relatively gut shot proof.
Yes.
Which is a spot that you'd like to be in. But this is the kind of hand that if Jeffrey was playing traditional Delver, where he could go turn 1 Delver, gut shot your guy, blah blah blah, run you over before you can actually do anything, because your 2 action cards are Sun Titan and Phyrexian Metamorph. But because he's more mid-rangey, it's an acceptable keep by Hetick, I think.
So we're gonna see Ponder here.
Wang's option can't really get a good look at him, unfortunately. It does look like he's gonna keep, and I was wrong.
No.
Not the first time.
Won't be the last.
Won't be the last time.
And Hetick also showed Cavern of Souls again in that hand. His Sun Titan has a bit more inevitability than it would in other circumstances. He knows that it resolves if he gets the 6 mana, which changes the way that both Hetick and Edgar had to play out these sequences.
Agreed. We see Glacial Fortress just passed. Draw step 4, Mr. Hetick. Zell's Conscripts.
So we might just see kind of a random curve of beaters, of some big dudes win this game.
Yeah, this is just, attack with my Pilgrim, play another Pilgrim, play land. Unlikely that it's Cavern. Yeah, just Plains. Say go. So this is the kind of draw, and this is something else that pod decks can do, where you just go, Mana Dork, play a 5-drop on turn 3, play a Bigger Idiot on turn 4. Can you beat that?
Yeah, you can just accelerate into some of your value guys. If he has a Thragtusk this turn or next turn, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. As we
so
see,
it's the same hand plus Cavern, a second Cavern, and a Conscripts.
So now we're gonna see, not 2 relevant spells are going to resolve. Let's say he draws Thragtusk. He's all right, Cavern named Beast, Thragtusk definitely resolving. Yeah. Next turn, Cavern named Giant, Sun Titan definitely resolving.
Edgar does have Dave Judgment in his hand, but again, with that Sun Titan looming, there's only so much that he can really lean on that.
Yes. So we see Borderland Ranger drawn for Hetick.
So if you're Hetick, are you willing to set your Cavern and resolve Borderland Ranger here?
For me, no. If he wants to mana leak that, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I think
aren't you getting to a point where you're just playing over the top?
Conscripts is a human anyway, so you would probably just want to name human. Because I don't think he really cares that much about Metamorph resolving. I don't think you're going to name whatever, and I can't think of the creature type of Metamorph right now, but I don't think you're going to name whatever Metamorph is. Yeah, and you can just have this not get countered. Yeah, no, that's way better.
So Cavern presumably set to human.
Because with Metamorph anyway, at this point, he's going to get his 4th land. He's going to have 6 mana, so he's
playing over the top of Mana Leak very soon anyway.
Yeah, he's going to be playing over the top of it anyway, so there's no reason to not do this.
And whether or not it's on Hetick's radar or not, he's doing a very good job, incidentally or otherwise, of playing around Day of Judgment.
Agreed.
This is like getting into shots, generating some value, and building up a board without ever really exposing himself to Day of Judgment in any sort of serious way.
And the Day of Judgment that you speak of, well, I mean, we're talking pretty heavily about Day of Judgment in this matchup. One of the things that kind of makes blue-white mid-range interesting is he has Day of Judgment in his hand, doesn't have a second white mana, it looks like. So, as backbreaking as Day of Judgment can be, one of the things with this deck is, you know, with a traditional Delver deck, it operates on a single white mana very well. When you need a second white mana, things can get a little bit dicey.
Yeah, I mean, the mana base is basically just the 8 duels plus, like, you know, I mean, his Delver list is actually playing 4 planes. That's quite high.
Yeah.
And I guess that's a concession to having Day of Judgment and Gideon in the deck.
So we saw a Ponder from Jeffery, and now we're going to kick it back to Hetick's turn. Draws a Forest for his turn. And it's still relatively the same. You know, we have Metamorph, we have Cavern, we have Sun Titan, we have Zealous Conscripts. Now we have a Forest in there as well. We're going to see.
Looks like we're just going to start going beatdowns here.
Yep. Give me that Snapcaster, and let the beatdowns commence.
So he's got a snag in his hand, so I guess he's debating about snagging his own Snapcaster. I mean, you let it shift over first, so it's Hetick taking the 1 point, and not you, but
sure.
Is he willing to fire off this snag? I guess it's just not worth it.
I mean, it's like pretty close, right? Like he's at 13, yeah. He can go down to 8, or he's going to take 8 and go down to 5, or would he rather be at 7 and have the
I think assuming that he knows he has a second white from Ponder, then I think you just have to kind of take the hit. No.
No, assuming he has a second white from Ponder, I think this is going to be a Tameo. Yeah. Assuming that he has a second white from Ponder, somewhere within that Ponder, I think you want to bounce it so that when you do cast a Day of Judgment, you have a Snapcaster in your hand.
Sure.
We're going to see Tameo. He's going to draw 4. I mean...
No, your reasoning makes a ton of sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Now he needs to... I mean, Tameo drew him 4 cards. I mean, bevy of options in his hand. Now he needs... But he's at 5 life. He needs to not die. And we know he has Metamorph in his hand.
Right.
So I don't think there's a way that he doesn't die here. Because even if it's like, you know, some number of gut shots, you still have to take 2 damage to cast those.
Yeah. I mean, you just Metamorph your conscripts and kill him.
Yeah. Copy conscripts. Give me a Snapcaster. Give me a beatdown.
Ship it.
Gracias. And that is game.
Yep. So we saw sort of the Mike Hetick wins 2-0. You sort of got to see the 2 angles that the Birthing Pod deck can take. Game 1, Hetick just sort of grinded the game down, got a bunch of value off of Restoration.